And adoption of the minutes of the aforementioned Council Committee of the Whole meeting on March 15th. Councillor Palm? Will you not?
We don't have to read those out?
No, but did you want to
Yeah.
move to adopt?
Yeah.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
All right.
And we have no delegations. Move on to correspondence. 4.1, a copy of a letter dated March the 16th, 2016, from Powell River Regional District to the Honorable Todd Stone, Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure, regarding the need for a comprehensive plan for drainage control and stormwater management. What is the committee's wish for this?
Excuse me. Agenda.
Mayor Plassa?
Yeah, so I read the chair's letter to the Honorable Todd Stone. It seems to be speaking for all the governments here, which I guess within the city of Powell River, I think vulnerable areas would be Marine Avenue, for water overflow. Do we want to do anything to sort of back this letter up? Are there issues for us in the stormwater management through the chair?
Yeah. And the Director of Infrastructure is here. The backcountry affects the front country to some extent, so we are concerned. I think this is one of those cases where the city is within the regional district, as we know, and I think staff is supportive of what they're saying. To do a stormwater drainage master plan without including the city in it, it's like making a donut. So we're very supportive of it. You're right, though, that there would be key points that we're interested in. We're more the recipient than the generations point for drainage.
So do we want to do a letter to support or just note and file? I guess I'm looking for some advice.
I think note and file is fine. It's the message that we heard from Mr. Transportation. I know they've already met several times. It's largely driven by the concern some events that happen south of town.
Okay, I suggest note and file.
Thank you. 4.2, letter dated March the 17th, 2016, from the Climate Action Powell River Committee regarding actions to lower greenhouse gas emissions. What is the committee's wish with this letter? Councillor Leishman.
I would receive it, and also could we perhaps respond to them, letting them know about the potential sustainable roundtable session coming up, and invite them to attend.
Yeah. Councillor Selka.
Thank you. I was actually going to forward the CAO's report that in this letter before it came to us, because really honestly, just to save a little bit of embarrassment, because it really does indicate it doesn't actually represent what's going on in that group. It seems to indicate less of an understanding of process. But that being said, one of the main tasks I found myself serving has been to help them understand how our processes work and how community, and at least explore with them how community and a group and we can work together, which I guess is really going to be what the roundtables explore. So they're really just chomping at the bit, and I really have to commend the amount of enthusiasm in this group. Plus they're doing homework. They're really working at what they want to do. So
and I met with them as well last week, so I think they have a better understanding now of what the CARET funds are versus community works funds, and because there's some misunderstanding in this letter, of course. So I think we can just receive this letter and be comfortable knowing that Councillor Southcott and I have met with them, and they have a better understanding of what's possible and what funding is coming from where and going where.
All right, and is everybody agreeable to reaching out to them and asking them if they want to participate in the roundtable? Councilman Formosa?
I think, sure, let's do that, but I think you may remember when the group was here, the CAO invited them to partake in the roundtable and told them that, you know, that's forthcoming and such, but, you know, in response to this letter, please, you know,
Reminder.
be aware that our first trial run will be the sustainability roundtable, and so they're welcome to be at the table, make sure they're there. So I would support a letter directing them to that first roundtable.
All right, direction to staff. Thank you. 5.1, reports. Report dated April the 5th, 2016 from the Director of Infrastructure regarding Bike BC grant application for Phase 3 bike lane construction. Take it away, Mr. Berthe.
Thank you. As everybody's aware, we completed construction of Phase 1 of our municipal cycling plan, and that was the Duncan to Manson through to Alberni, and that was completed last fall. And we are currently working on the design and tendering of Phase 2, which is the Joyce Complex Loop. So that should go out shortly for construction. And now Bike BC, their program, has announced a third intake for grant funding. And what we are proposing is to submit an application for the third phase, which is about 1 kilometer of bike lanes on both the east and west sides of Manson Avenue between Duncan and Camano. So it would connect to the Phase 1 Duncan Street. It would entail road widening as well as replacing a drainage ditch with piping so that we can do the road widening. The total cost is approximately $175,000. As this grant is a 50-50 split, it would call for $87,500 to come out of the Community Works Fund.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments? Councilor Paul?
Yeah, just looking at the last couple of years, we're at $250,000 once we complete Phase 2, and we're before even the planning's finished for Phase 2, we're going into a Phase 3 because of grant opportunities that are coming up, correct? So I guess we've been successful in the last couple, and that's good news. At least they're handing out a little bit of money concerning bike lanes, but you know, the point that I want to stress is that, and it's my understanding that gas tax funding is designed for other capacities as well, rather than just bike lanes. So, you know, $250,000 is pretty healthy for their first couple of years out of the gate. This is asking for another matching funds of $87,500. So I think we just need to be cognizant of the fact that there are other uses of gas tax funds, and every time we put together a small blueprint for cycling in our community that enhances our community, we're looking at substantial funding. So just wanted to make that point. And the other question I have in terms of the routes and the colors on the map that's presented, the color of the new third phase is adding on to, I believe, the first phase. But there seems to be a gap between the second and the first phase along Manson or whatever. Am I misreading the map that's there?
No, what we have along Manson is we have the Sharrow, so there is road widening. There isn't a bike lane delineated at this point because there are a few pinch points, but we feel that the Sharrows provide an adequate corridor at this stage.
Very good. And the other thing that needs to be stressed, we're expending these funds, that we're doing so in the most comprehensive manner, which is dealing with issues on our roadways, trying to make the dollar stretch as far as we can and get a maximum build out of our design out of our dollars, right?
Yes, yeah, definitely. We look at that on all components along the Joyce Avenue corridor from Manson to the complex. We were able to carry out some repairs while at the same time widening it for the bike lane.
Thank you, Mr. Bertie.
Any other comments? I just have one question. Councillor Brewer and I met with a citizen on Manson Avenue, Manson between Alberni and Abbotsford. And we've got 2 bike lanes on both sides and no parking. And that was forwarded. I was just wondering if there's any progress with that and if that can be incorporated into this at all.
There wasn't, it was not included in this
Okay.
phase, definitely. There is a bit of a pinch point right at that intersection of Manson and Abbotsford. But there's also some parking on site that is available.
On site?
But beyond that, on the property itself or adjacent to.
Oh, for that
on
particular
Abbotsford,
citizen,
yes.
yeah. Oh, Mayor Formosa?
Thank you. Third time lucky. I want to just talk about this just a little more. Funding, the money, the community works. First of all, I did read somewhere in all my reading last night that we do have a balance of about 1.3 million in the reserve. Is that prior to these expenditures or after?
My feeling would be that it would be prior to the 87,000 that we're
Prior.
proposing.
So,
The
so
other
we're
stuff
still
has
at
already been
1.2
allocated.
million in
Yeah, through the
reserve.
chair, that was to the end of 2015.
So we had another 800 coming.
Yeah.
So we will receive some pushback on the bike lanes while we suffer terrible roads and a water main issue. But having said that, what we're doing here is brain surgery. It's happening everywhere. Like, I just came back from my holiday, all the center of Cave Creek with, the saguaros, we call them cactuses, which are sacred there, all the plant things, and big talk in Cave Creek. And they just rip the center out. You put bike lanes from one end to the other. Put back the cactuses and the flowers as much as they could. The next community, Carefree, is now carrying on from there. This is in a state that's very, very, very hot for six months, like unbearably hot, and the other 6 months pretty nice to be there. And we're seeing it everywhere, and a lot of people are riding their bikes. I keep saying, getting the kids out of their houses and off their games and onto bicycles and into our bike park and our skateboard park, and then families being safe. I think it's a good investment, so we need to be ready when people say, but my road is falling apart, man. I hear you, I understand. It's a balancing act. But I think we're making good investments. We're making good investments in health, we're making good investments in safety, and this is what's happening everywhere. It's not just us, it's happening everywhere. So as much as I want to see roads fixed, and we need to be working on that and that water main done, I support feeding a little bit of this in as we go. So, but I do hear you, Councillor. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Burke?
And just a reminder for everyone, our current financial plan identifies the entire 600,000 that we get on an annual basis going to roads through our asset management plan. That's been identified as the gap. We thought it was higher before, but it's now around 600. Currently, the financial plan says that 600 is going to roads, so we're bridging that gap with the gas tax dollars that are coming in on an ongoing basis, at least for the next 5 years based on our financial plan. So that's covered. So we're good there.
Councillor Paul?
I'll just remind Councillor Brewer that when I first came to office, the repaving plan and redesign of our pipes underground, we were, the previous council in the day were looking at dedicating $2 million annually to that fund. It got allocated at $1 million. It's now down to 600. So time is quickly whittling away. Those pipes underground are getting older by the day, not getting younger, and we're going to have a problem that we have to deal with. And I'm just erring on the side of caution going forward. We have to look after our infrastructure.
Through the chair, if I could, the director can chime in here at any time. I'm excited about a council that has this level of knowledge and discussion about infrastructure. I've waited about 35 years for this. So, and your asset management plan is coming into play. It gets into a little bit of eligibility of funds. Roads, be they standard paving or bike lanes, are eligible for gas tax. Water, perhaps not yet, is the way to look at it. So they're not in competition. So we do have issues with water system, but this, as Councillor Brewer has said, is you've filled the gap in one of your 9 categories of asset management for funding with the $600,000 a year. And the bike lanes, correct me if I'm wrong, Tor, but it's not like, there is a synergy between bike lanes and ordinary paving. You know, when we're out doing a bike lane, it usually coincides with a full repave of that part of the street or a good portion of it. So it's also a rare opportunity to get a deal.
So, yeah, so going either way, whether it's a bike lane, then we incorporate road work, or if we're doing some road work, we look to incorporating a bike lane in those areas so that we can extend those funds.
And through the chair, the ideal is too that we also seize that opportunity to change out water or sewer lines in that same section if at all possible. So it is integrated.
And I just want to throw this little one out there and you know, be prepared and use it, because you know, like you say, we will get pushback. We get a lot of upset people with their roads, lots. But think of the safety of those people, those kids riding their bikes, and the you know, sometimes you see the mom and dad and the kids and whatever. So you can add the safety level. That's huge, and I know you know that. And you're just keeping us aware, and I hear you, and I agree. But I think that we are striking a good balance. And again, travel around a lot. This is pretty common out there these days. It's really a common thing. And you know, you see big debates in the city where they're closing down whole sides of streets and such in major cities. Again, it's also a push to try and cut back the amount of vehicles on the road. It's actually trying to force people, it's like they did with cigarettes and stuff, make it so expensive that people start to quit. But yeah, so I think it's good for us to be aware. We need to work on our roads because they are a problem, and we got to get that water main fixed. I don't know where we are on that, and I won't go there, but we all know about it.
Through the chair, we can give you a quick answer. We advised you some time back, given the opportunity, we resubmitted the application, tightened it up a little bit, and put back, and it is part of the consideration for all the federal, provincial infrastructure money that's out there now. So it's an active application.
Excuse me, if you mind, through the chair, reading the budget, a big part of the Premier or Prime Minister Trudeau's thing was pumping money back into the economy and building our asset base back up because we so much need it. And now what I'm hearing is it's like 2 years away. Is that true?
Through the chair, it takes time from ministers prime ministers to have visions, to assistant deputy ministers to have money. Yeah, the details being worked, but this past week, FCM put out an analysis of the budget, particularly with regard to infrastructure. I think most of the council saw it. And they are saying that it is the government's intention to allocate out most of the funds that they've talked about as their phase 1 in the federal budget year that just started last week, so 1st of April, this year or next, which means that there will be a very, very soon, relatively short notice call for applications, I believe. But it will still take time to award, time to design, time to implement. I think, not to get too political, but I think the federal government must move that quickly to cut ribbons before the next election.
Councillor Sokka?
Thank you. Kent, pass up this opportunity to mention a couple of other angles as far as cycling goes. I ride partly as a political statement, but I do it because I'm getting older, and so that's part of the political statement. It's kind of like, if I can do it, you know, others can do it. And my angle is that, and I've been concerned about this for decades, and it used to scare the crap out of me, the whole climate change perspective or picture. Now it's becoming mainstream. And as more and more people are concerned about that, I think there's going to be an increased political pressure to do something, particularly on the higher levels of government. But who ends up with it every time? It's us. So I think, anyway, that's what I see. Having the opportunity to actually rubber the road doing things, like many other municipal jurisdictions, cities, towns, etc. I also find this town to be highly bikeable. It really is so bicycle friendly compared to other cities I've ridden in. And here's another big element for me, and that is the whole health push, which is something that we're associated with through the Palaver Wellness Project and the cooperative agreements and working between our Parks and Rec and Vancouver Coastal. This is a real push in town now, and I see it being a boomer, as the principal benefit of staying healthy is that I'm not going to end up having to depend on healthcare systems that are struggling. So I don't want to do that, and that is probably for me. No, actually the first reason I ride is because it's just plain fun. And the second reason is to keep myself healthy. But the next it's a huge addition, is I feel really good about not burning gasoline when I'm riding my bike down the road. So thank you for indulging me with those comments, but I just really had to add that to this picture or this discussion.
Any more comments, discussion?
I have one more comment. I note on here that the deadline for the application is April the 8th.
Yep. So we need to.
Through that, the director's asking you to consider it tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just have one comment as well, further to the wear and tear on our infrastructure. The more people we can get into bikes, the less wear and tear we'll have on the roads in the long run. The roads will last longer. The more people that are using the roads with their bikes and less with their cars, the more life we get out of the infrastructure. So, in the long run, I think it's making the money go further. My 2 cents. Thank you. So, to council tomorrow. Thank you. 5.2. Conflict. Councilor Leishman.
I have to declare a conflict on this item because my employer is one of the partners in the applicant.
Thank you. Out with you. So, report dated April the 5th, 2016, from the Director of Planning Services regarding Development Variance Permit 192, request to vary the height of the accessory building for the former 3583 Marine Avenue. Mr. Knight.
Thank you. Through the chair, this is really a straightforward variance permit application, and it's on what was called the convent properties that you're all aware of south of town. Right now it's being subdivided into 6 lots. A number of those lots have now been sold. And before I get into my little short spiel, I just want to let this committee know that the proponent, Darren Edward, is here today in case you have some difficult questions for him. You can always direct it his way. The variance itself here is only for the accessory building, not the principal building. The proposed building, or principal building, is proposed to be 30 feet high, which is not an issue to the zoning, but it's the accessory building itself, whereby our existing zoning bylaw only allows it to be 4.9 meters high, which is about 16 feet. And what the proponent is looking at doing in order to make his accessory building look in conformity to the architecture of the principal building is have it go from that 4.9 meters up to 8.2, which is 3.3 meters extra, bringing it up to 27 feet. So that's the gist of it. In the schedules, you'll see third schedule whereby it's actually showing what that accessory building is looking like. In terms of the location of the accessory building, the staff really have no problem with it, because when you're looking at the depth of these properties out towards the water, you're looking pretty close to about 100 feet there. So you've got a long stretch of property, unlike a lot of the single-family lots that you see that are, you know, your 50 by 100 feet. So this is quite a lengthy depth to that one. In terms of meeting its requirements, it meets our strategic priorities, number 2, in governance. It has meets the zoning bylaws except for the accessory, and given that, we have a healthy housing boom going down there right now, and as staff, we have no problem making the recommendation that this committee give notice on this variance permit. Thank you.
Any questions, comments? What is the committee's wish?
Council.
Council?
Actually, through the chair, the council's delegated their authority for the committee to make a motion to direct staff. So if somebody would like to move the recommendation, we can get going on it.
Okay, I'll move it.
Second.
Through the chair, for the sake of people
Yeah.
listening in,
I'll move it.
Okay, appreciate you reading it.
Right in here. That staff be directed to give notice in accordance with section 499 of the Local Government Act of council's intention to consider issuance of development variance permit 192 for lot 3, district lot 1423, group 1 NWD Plan E PP 52699 to Part 8, Table 1 of Zoning Bylaw 2100-2006 to increase the height of the accessory building.
Seconder, Councilor Pong. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. All right, and on to 5.3, report dated April the 5th, 2016 from Senior Planner regarding public information meeting for proposed exclusion from the Agricultural Land Reserve over a portion of vacant land on Marine Avenue, Lot A. Mr. Gao.
Thank you very much. Through the chair. The report I'm here to present is regarding the ALR exclusion application that PRSC Land Developments has submitted.
I think I'm still in conflict on this one.
Okay.
For what?
The reason?
Well, I did the plan for the original application, so I'm assuming, I don't know, it's pretty foggy.
It's a new plan now, it's not
Yeah,
your
I
old plan.
know, but
Side of caution.
it was the ALR exclusion application that I did apply for.
Should we just close the door?
Don't come back.
It's not even the same
Submitted
plan.
to the city on behalf of Center Bright Investments. So this is the report, but to be more specific, the report is really whether or not the city should host a public information meeting as part of the process to review the application. So a little bit of background, as I'm sure you all are aware, the city is currently processing SOCP and zoning amendment applications for the same applicant. The land under application is a 12-hectare parcel that is entirely within the provincially designated agricultural land reserve. It lies to the east of Brooks School and bounded by the highway, the Hall Road, and the power line corridor. The applicant is proposing to develop a private school campus and dormitories on the land. This type of land use would not be consistent with the policies of the Agricultural Land Commission Act or Agricultural Land Reserve Regulation, hence the exclusion application. So just to give you an overview of the ALR exclusion process, essentially the applicant submits the application to the city for review. That has happened. The city received that application March 23rd. City staff will review the application and bring a report forward to council with a recommendation. Council then adopts a resolution as to whether or not they're in support of the application being forwarded to the Agricultural Land Commission for review. And this is a key part in terms of this particular application, because without that resolution in support of that application, the application does not move forward. So as part of this overall process, the ALR regulation states that a local government may, keyword, hold a public information meeting with respect to the exclusion application. If the recommendation of the report is approved, the public information meetings would be held prior to the next staff report being presented to council, and all relevant findings that come from the public meeting would be included in that report for council's consideration. So to summarize, the intent of this report is to get direction from council on whether the city should hold a public information meeting as part of the ALR exclusion application process. As I already alluded to, this is not a requirement of the ALR regulation, but staff are of the opinion that doing so aligns with the city's corporate plan strategic priority number 2, governance. And as a final point, it's worth noting that all costs associated with hosting a public information meeting would be borne by the city, as the city doesn't have any bylaws to recoup any of these fees from the applicant. And staff expect these costs to be somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000.
Mayor Formosa.
Okay, first and foremost, we should change that bylaw. So if staff could look at that issue that was just brought up by the planner, I don't know Jason's last name, or I'd use it.
Gow.
Mr. Gow, in the formal setting, I think we need to look into that, because I'm sure the proponent would be happy to pay their way. So that's the first point. Second point is that I believe that we should hold this as local government, this public meeting, and I would look to staff to give us some ideas of what and how they see this unfolding. I believe that we'd want to see Sino-Bright there. We'd want to see the school district there. I guess ourselves would be there. I really don't know what, where PRSC sits in this. They're really just selling the property, but I think they are the applicant of some sort.
Through the chair, they're still the owner.
Yeah, so, I think we want to consider all these issues and have these people available for the public to ask questions to. Now, something that my colleagues know, that I was in Victoria about 3 weeks ago, arranging a meeting with the Minister of International Trade and the Minister of Education, because they are new ministers, to meet with the Sino-Bright principals and with the school district superintendent, just to bring them up to date with this project, discuss this project, and also what became very clear at that meeting, and something I want to clarify to everybody, my colleagues, in case they're not, and I only kind of got this figured out in the last little while, and I work at this project quite a bit, and for the public to understand, is that what we have here is we have a private company building a school for international students for BC curriculum, Dogwood English immersion school. And they also will be soliciting the students to come to this school. But this school is going to be ran by School District 47. So it will be like a lease back. And it's a change as to what we were working with for the last year and a half. And there's reasons for that. But the provincial government was very happy and very excited about this, because the School Act allows this to happen, but it doesn't happen, it hasn't happened. And one of the benefits is that students now are able to also go to China and do reciprocal schooling in China from BC, and that really had the Deputy Minister pretty excited to see this. The other thing, what they like about it, is that, face it, there's been a lot of problems if you understand what we're working in these days. And the beautiful thing about these Sino-Bright people is they have 14 campuses, they're legitimate people, but there has been issues in this area of education and foreign schools and problems. And it's been quite well publicized. Well, the beauty of this one is that it's actually the school district that's going to be running it. So the ministry is pretty happy knowing that it's going to get delivered and delivered properly. Now, what does that mean to us? Well, always the biggest reason for the location of the school was to share in the assets of the school and to help keep our broad programs going at Brooks, adding to programs and keeping the school viable and what we have seen so far as a depleting student enrollment. So things like the gymnasium, film school, welding, all these electives will be available to these students at Brooks, and there will be fees for that. The other issue is now that these teachers are going to be hired as School District 47 teachers. So there's an opportunity here for folks that have been laid off to come back, and or new young teachers to come to Powder River and work for School District 47. So, and it really took me a while. I was right there when Mr. Yule was explaining to me and to Mr. Randolph the change up and why I was sitting there. And then when I went to Victoria and I was explaining the situation to the minister, and then halfway through, Mr. Yule started kicking me under the table because I really never got that 100% of that switchover. I was partly there, but I wasn't all the way there. And quite frankly, even Mr. Kwan, he was a little bit confused as well because it is a change. So, but it's still their school, it's still their students. But it will be, it's like they've hired this management group to run the program. So it's actually really, really good news. So anyway, there you go. There you have it.
Anyone else? Councilor Burke?
I just have one question. Under the analysis and impact, it speaks to a deadline for written comments of April 15th, 2016. That's a deadline with respect to?
I think it's the notice in the paper, and as well as the notice online. That has been the date that was assigned.
So through the chair, the applicant has posted notice in the paper and I have it here. It's just, so it's PRSC has posted notice of their intention of making the application. So they have invited anyone wishing to express interest to forward their comments in writing to us here by Friday, April 15th. So that's not a city-generated notice, that came from PRSC.
So a good point, because it's through the chair, it's separate to our rezoning and our OCP amendment. So I ran downstairs, Madam Clerk today, went, we got a contradiction here. We got two things. And so she explained to me that they're two different processes, two different jurisdictions.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you. So ideally, Mr. Gow, when would this, in a perfect world, when would this happen?
Through the chair, I do think that I'd like an opportunity to talk with the Director of Planning.
Mm-hmm.
However, there are some timeframes that we have to adhere to, and so the ALR regulation gives 60 days for an application where there is no public information meeting, and 90 days where there is a public information meeting. So we have an extra 30 days if, in fact, a public information meeting was held. But I think we would want to, part of the rationale for getting this report to council immediately is so that we can get on this as quickly as possible.
So I've had these discussions with the planners, and so we have included this topic on tomorrow night's agenda. If council wishes to deal with it tomorrow night, it's on the agenda already. If you need more time to think about it, we can certainly remove it from the agenda, but we are aware that we should get going on this. So it's up to council to decide what they would like to do.
Councilor Hathaway.
So I think the more public consultation, the better. It would behoove us to actually have this meeting and speak about what's happening. So I'm going to suggest we take it to council tomorrow night.
All in favor? Thank you. All right. Did you have a comment, or that was just? No. Thank you. All right. On to, thank you, Mr. Gabb. On to 5.4, report dated April 5th, 2016, from Chief Administrative Officer regarding standing community roundtables.
We need Carol Ann back.
Oh, yes. She must have a conflict on this somewhere.
Oh, sure do.
You sure you don't have a conflict on this?
Sure I do in some way. Mayor and Council, thank you for allowing me to bring forward this report.
You last had a report from me, written dated 19th of January. You considered it at council in early February, which was giving direction to staff to bring back a more detailed plan about the roundtables. That more detailed plan is in here, but I have to say the important part about that detail is the recommendation that 2 members of council be appointed as interim co-chairs of the roundtable on sustainability as it proposes within the first of 4, and that those 2 councillors select 5 citizens at large to form a steering committee on an interim basis as well to get the first meeting to happen. So I want to just highlight that point. But for the benefit of all, the idea is come from a strategic planning session late last year where council identified a number of issues, and I categorized and council confirmed that there were 6 relatively familiar corporate priorities, giving direction to staff, and 4 relatively new or not yet advanced community strategic priorities. These roundtables of 4 are recommended to address those. So in the analysis of our planning session last fall, it was determined that not only was more discussion needed, but we couldn't really provide the detail to go forward on implementation. I have to admit, at that time I also said, is it council's place to go forward on this, or are we looking at the threshold of what you've heard me say for my 5 years of working with you, that my objective was to help council move from being compelled to be involved in day-to-day municipal management into strategic community leadership. And this, I think, is another threshold to pass. There are 4 issues, the first of which is recommended here, sustainability, that require the community to come together. And if I can quote from our report, these community discussions may identify that information needs to be garnered, partnerships forged, and initiatives advanced in the community, but not necessarily with the direct involvement of the municipality. This means that the traditional committee structure of local government is not the best forum for these community discussions. It presupposes the municipality has a direct involvement and fuels a public expectation of municipal service provision. It was submitted in my previous report that a new level of community engagement requires a new form of engagement, and under that I recommended roundtable, which, thank you, you gave support for without detail. Today I come back to you with a detailed plan. But the essence of it is, if you decide to move forward in facilitating the first roundtable, this is a very, very different beast than anything we're accustomed to in the city. Because this is not a group that is, upon establishment, responsible or under the control of council. And I want to pause and really make that point. It's facilitating discussion. As I say within the report, there's an expectation that some things will happen, be they people to know more, synergies occur, people to come together, partnerships formed. They do not necessarily lead back to the council. In the same way, the council is not controlling as it might, and control is a strong word, but this is not a committee that is ultimately responsible to the council, but is rather representing the community. So I don't want to belabor the point. I've already heard 3 of you in the meeting presuppose that we're going to do this roundtable. But I want to make that point really clearly. I think this is a new, exciting way to move forward discussion. As my report says, it does not at all restrict, and as a matter of fact, I'd like to think empowers any one of you who chooses to be part of the roundtable, or to, whether it's active participant or observer, to bring back anything you hear and you want to advance to this committee, to advance it as new business, in the same way that you can on any issue, no matter how you hear of it. And in this term of office, I've definitely heard from all 7 of you a desire to be more easily connected between the ideas in the community and the considerations of this committee, and ultimately council. So there is a terms of reference attached. It's dramatically different from normal, and it's a little bit of a different twist. I would suggest to you that it's a working draft for the interim steering committee. rather than spend a lot of time getting exactly the detail down, I put together some terms of reference which I think are best reviewed by the co-chairs and the steering committee that I'm suggesting be created. Okay. So the financial impact to city is it's estimated $1,000 for refreshments and light food. 4th of June is the suggested date. Excuse me. And the venues of the Arbutus Room and the Dwight Hall are booked, and we have to choose one or the other. But I'm trying to not restrict the steering committee that I'm suggesting, but also not to dictate to them all the detail. So there's still some flex in it. So I'm not dragging you through the entire report, but my point that I really wanted to make is this is a different form of engagement because you want to go to a different place in engagement. It's catalytic, it's facilitative. The best analogy I can have is standing at the end of the driveway and watching the kids leave town. You worked hard to get them to that point, you want them to do well, but you're not going down the road with them. You're getting them to the point where they're ready to go down the road. You get to visit, you get to attend the roundtables, but they're going to go where they want to go. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mayor Formosa, you have a...
Yeah, so I read the recommendation and such, and I guess the only thing that I query is the fact that the chairs pick their representatives, and that kind of bothers me a bit.
If I could,
all the years, go ahead.
Through the chair, I simply did it as an expedient. I'm totally agreeing that the idea is to have a group that gets the community who cares about sustainability into the venue, and then as part of that action plan is that group then decides who will take them forward. Right. So there's interim co-chairs and interim steering committee. You could be a call, but on a recent meeting there was a request of me to try and make this happen in Earth Month, which we're in, and it can't logistically do justice to that. So it was an issue, I thought, about moving expediently to get it done before the summer, quite frankly.
So just to finish up, and I trust my colleagues very much, that 10 years that I've been sitting here, regardless of what the public may think or certain sectors of previous councils or myself, we always bent over backwards to try and balance the table so that it wasn't all one way. That doesn't make for good government or fun. So sustainability is, I understand it pretty well. Working at it a long time and supported it a lot. It's not something I had to put all my efforts in because we had good people to do it. But it's more than just the environmental part. A big part of sustainability is the economics to help sustainability be sustainable. So I just want to know that there's an imbalance, that when we look at sustainability, we also look at the economics of it. So, and I think we struck that on our committee. We had that worked out of the committee room. You had invitation to the chamber, and you had and such. And the same thing when we did the revitalization, the mayor's task force revitalization. Ones that you will remember, we took everybody. We had so many, but we had so many that applied, and we went, you know what? And they were from all sidewalks, and it made for really good. We'd come up with what we've come up with, and look at one of our biggest push and successes so far, other than getting the land, getting through that difficult joint venture. But you need something to sell. You need something to work with. Was education is one of our biggest forefront developments right now. We have 2 good, solid education projects. We have other ones, but people are actually spending money on it, and so and that we had that balance. So that's really what I'm saying. So whoever it is, I'm not saying don't do it. I just want to make those comments. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Formosa. Anyone else? Councilor Leishman.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Yeah, thank you for this. It's good to have some sense of what that is gonna look like. So the one thing about sustainability, the word sustainability is that it's been overused and it's misconstrued. So I agree with the mayor's comments. It definitely, the sustainability of our community encompasses very, very many aspects. The catchphrase sustainability will likely draw the usual suspects to want to participate in that kind of a dialogue. So I think we have to be really clear on what we're encompassing under that roundtable discussion, that we be really clear on things that we're talking about, so that's not just, you know, one of the things would be how can we reduce our carbon emissions for the city, but also we need to talk about economic development, and we need to talk about keeping our young people here, or driving more young people back here. So, and I guess the one part that I'm not sure how it fits in here is, like, we do have our integrated community sustainability plan, which is more towards the carbon emissions reductions and all that, those actions that we have in place. We just don't have a timeline. We kind of didn't finish that piece. Like, we have this great document, but we have no timelines or no mechanism for how do we bring those next items forward that we may want to address, or, you know, look at as a council, as a community. So I mean, we could definitely talk about some of those items in a roundtable discussion such as this. And also, the city monitors, well, we're sort of the corporate emissions, like there's a corporate emissions, and like our community CO2 emissions is based on a per capita average in BC, like it's not very specific. So I've been asked lately for the last little while, like, how do we as a community monitor our, like, have a baseline of where we're at with our carbon emissions, really, realistically, not just theoretically, and how are we going to track how we're doing, really, not just theoretically, because it's all just guesstimates based on the provincial data. So that's something that I would love to see, kind of some brainstorming around how can we do that, and it might mean getting a professional, getting a grant from the Green Municipal Fund to hire a professional to do some data analysis or something. So there is funding for that sort of thing. So yeah, I just kind of want to make sure that there's all the components built into this, but it's pretty daunting. Thanks.
Mayor Formosa.
Yeah, so if we go back to the letter today, March 17th, from the Climate Action Powell River Committee, that's what they want to bear down on to, just those facts. And how do we take it from the shelf to reality, which we know some of that reality we're doing. We are doing it. We can name 10 things we've done. But those are the people that want to dedicate themselves and their committee to doing just that. And that's why, you know, we want to get them on that roundtable. And, you know, I think something will come. And then, like you say, there are some funds available. But at the same time, back to my other comments, we got to balance it. So, yeah, you know, what was sustainability is, you know, overused. You know, you go to Whole Foods and Sprouts. What's that big thing everybody says about, you know, your food being organic? I mean, it got overused and hijacked, right?
Greenwashed.
And so I believe this is what, you know, the CAO is saying is, okay, you guys, there you go. There's the vehicle. Jump in it, take it for a ride, see how it works. There's the racetrack. And then bring back to this table where it is you want to go with this and how you think we should get there to recommend to council to do that. And I think that the people are in the community to do that. So I think we just, you know, those things will come out of this as long as you keep those thoughts. But at the same time, we've got to remain realistic. That's all. Thanks.
Councillor Hathaway and then Councillor Leishman.
Right. So I just have a question, what you're suggesting here, rather than set up a committee where we are like a standing or a select committee or something where they have a project and they move it forward, you're suggesting that a couple of councillors, I would presume from the sustainability committee, kind of go out there in the community and have meetings, and whoever wants to show up provides input?
Through the chair, initially, it could be simplified to that, yes, but it's, in your role as being facilitators for a community discussion, I'm suggesting 2 members of council act as the co-chairs to get to and have the first meeting of the roundtable. And then it's a community forum.
So it's simply just a public opportunity for input on specific categories?
Well, it's a discussion, yes, on sustainability. It's a clearinghouse. It's a roundtable interest group. And as the mayor was saying, you know, it brings together different interests in balance. I'm suggesting here that people are not invited, but they self-identify that they want to be there, which means the communications plan that I'm saying should be done by the city is pivotal, that people know about it, and that we make points like the mayor brought up, that it's not just an environmental event, but it's all sides. And that roundtable then starts to get momentum that carries on by itself. And there may, from time to time, be a role for municipality. It may be that you just continue to provide the venue, and synergies and partnerships are found.
And through the chair, the co-chairs have the opportunity or the ability to pick who's going to go out and find the right people and say, hey, will you join this committee? And that's the little point I was making. Because that's fine, as long as we do that with a balance.
So I'm sort of confused by the overall discussion around sustainability when I see things on here, topic community engagement as a topic, economic revitalization, social planning, and housing.
I take responsibility for my communications. There's 4 separate roundtables. One is sustainability.
Okay, so we're just talking about, okay.
We're going to test drive it, through the chair. This is a test drive
right.
with sustainability as a topic.
Okay,
to see where it can go and how it can
public venues for people to have input on a variety of.
I believe Madam Clerk may have some clarification. Well, I'm not sure if it's clarification or I'm going to add to the confusion. We'll find out though. But one of the things, you know, we've heard the mayor comment about balance, and it can't all be about sustainability, like the green, for lack of a better word, the green stuff. There's still economic. If you go back to 2008, when council and the community first had their talks, that led to a sustainability charter. And out of that sustainability charter came 3 pillars. And it was environmental, it was cultural, social, and it was economic. So there's the sustainability. And really, if you think about what Mr. Fraser's proposing to you, that's how the sustainability charter came. It wasn't a select committee, it wasn't anything. It was a community conversation that came up with something, and this is, you know, sort of, okay, now what? So here we are.
Could I give an example of an experience?
And then Councilor Leishman.
I'm biased towards roundtables because of a positive experience I had professionally. When I worked in the village of Cumberland, it was at a time when public health officers across the province were made responsible for the quality of potable water, yet they really had no authority until somebody decided to sell it. They didn't have authority to go to source waters, none of the transit stuff. It was just when someone actually consumed it. So their authority to regulate was reactive, but the mandate the province had given to them about ensuring safe drinking water was intended to be proactive, but no authority came with it, to think in traditional government terms. So Dr. Brian Emerson was the public health officer in the Comox Valley at the time, and he said, I'm going to convene a roundtable called the Comox Lake Watershed Interest Group. And just simply self-identify. If you're interested in that watershed, come to meetings, put on the coffee, had some donuts. People came in. And the example that I always reach to is the chief forester of Timber West, who was not only the owner of all the lands around Comox Lake, but actually owned the lake bottom, owned everything, sat beside time and again one of the strongest environmental advocates and activists that I've ever seen, whose great pride was how many times she had been arrested. And first meeting, people were amazed that they actually sat beside each other. Neither one ever gave up any philosophical ground, but they were influenced by what they heard from each other. One mellow, and to the point that they actually exchanged Christmas cards to break through old ways. But there were things that happened. I represented a village that owned a campground but didn't drink the water. Regional district drank the water, but only after BC Hydro had generated power with it. So it was a very complex arrangement, which a traditional, dare I say, local government select or standing committee probably would have had an intention of coming up with some type of municipal plan. There was no plan that ever came out of that, but Comox Lake water quality went up dramatically because of that interest group. So that's the example I put to you is our integrated community sustainability plan, the commitment to the community, to the sustainability charter, even our SOCP clearly states where the municipality is going, but the community is a larger entity than just the municipality. The municipality is a service provision corporation. This is talking about moving the community further on the first of four subjects being sustainability.
Thank you. Councilor Beechman?
Thank you. That's good. That's a lot more clarification. So just with the four community strategic priorities will each have their own roundtable. So, but we have our corporate strategic priorities. So when, like, we still haven't adopted those, have we?
Through the chair, you've given the confirmation that those are your corporate priorities, but I owe you detailed implementation plans as you're talking about when are we going to do what. I still owe those to you. The saving grace is that some of those are progressing through your previous direction on them. Your recreation report will be coming to you in the next couple of months, and there's one left that we haven't advanced, which is emergency response or emergency management planning. So yes, those are forthcoming. I'm a little tight on senior staff at the moment. I'm not affecting concurrent activity. It's a little sequential.
So just to follow, so once that kind of happens, then like reports that come from staff would then no longer say the previous strategic priorities, that they reflect those, but then it would start reflecting these ones?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and through the chair, if I can, the reason that I felt empowered to take that, Grace, is that you had confirmed that where we've been going with our corporate priorities were roughly where you wanted to go. And we need to refine those and detail those. But these big four, if you wish, on the community level, we were nowhere on. So I thought best to put the focus on things we need to get started for the first time, and then we'll go back and in short order refine the six corporate priorities. Okay. Or further define would be better.
Okay.
Councilor Brewer?
Yeah, just a comment. At first I was thinking the roundtables could be a bit of a bear. I was just trying to reconcile that with our existing committee structures, but I think there'll be a good way to provide a feedback for the community. So we've got our ICSP, we've outlined all these things we want to do, and we have talked about, okay, how do we check in on that ICSP? How do we check in every half year or year and say, okay, how have we done with this plan? Where are we at? And I like the idea of opening that right up and making us accountable, really, as a city and a corporation and community, to see what kind of movement we've made, and maybe bring more. Maybe some through that process will drop off the plan as we revisit it. So I like it now. I like the idea of taking a test run with the sustainability one. And if you remember when we did our strategic planning, that did incorporate a whole bunch of items. So I assume the two chairs in the group, when it does start rolling, we'll look back on that strategic priorities report we had. And we had a lot listed under there, so it's a big discussion. So it's a good way to check in on our ICSP and other plans and policies. So good idea. Let's take it for a run.
Through the chair, having written this, there's one thing that last night I went through that I'm not sure is entirely clear, that I said, my proposal, but you know, all things happen as a function of this first meeting. My proposal is that these roundtable meetings are ongoing. I didn't actually use that phrase in the report, and I apologize. because sometimes roundtables are one-ofs. But the intention of this, now that frequency to be determined by the group once they convene, is it annual, is it monthly, quarterly? But it's not intended to be a one-day conversation. And just to highlight one point in the action plan, it is calling for a sustainability exposition to start the day off on the 4th of June, which I think is important for people self-identifying. They either come as an individual because they're interested in the subject matters, or they might come as part of a group and set up and communicate and share with the others at the meeting what's gone on before, rather than sitting down first and foremost at a series of round tables with time frames and rules of order and such. It's a much more free-form self-identification. And the exchange that happens in that morning that I foresee might well be just confirmed in the afternoon as that's the way to go forward, or it might be something that evolves otherwise.
Thank you. Councillor Silka.
Thank you. I just note that the June 4th date may be the first tiny step into turning Earth Month into Earth Year. And
Sierra Club?
One of it.
The answer is every year is Earth Year.
Yeah.
But I just, I have to note that I love pattern and design, and this is that, I mean, to me, engagement really speaks of the connection between everything else and us, community, etc. But we have sustainability, economic and social. So it's like that tripod that's come out of so many other studies that was already mentioned by Madam Clerk with the sustainability charter that involved 300 people. So this whole thing, I just get that feeling of excitement and trepidation. It's kind of scary because it could be a commitment of quite a bit of time and work. But we have to launch to take that first step. So I love it. Thank you.
If I could, through the chair, share with you, I took the advice of a wise woman, that being my daughter. She's a community economic developer in Montreal, and involved with a great deal of social enterprise. And she reminded me of an expression I should have known, which is, Dad, you're part of change if it feels awkward and unusual and uncomfortable. And after, I'm sure we're going to celebrate 40 years of public service, this is the fringe for me. This is the outer limits. I usually sit at the chair with you, and it's somewhat of a controlling exercise to help you not step on a landmine to go back to my first career. This is going through the minefield. And I have confidence that I'm vastly overstating it. It's just going into new grounds altogether. Because you want a new level of community engagement. I'm suggesting you need a new form.
I think I see a new slogan, welcome to the outer limits.
With
our own theme song. Councillor Brewer.
Just to emphasize the point that I do see these as ongoing, and I think there needs to be a commitment to having these ongoing roundtables. Otherwise, there'll just be that rolling of the eyes when people say, oh, another community forum, what are we doing with it? But it does allow, if there's a commitment to having it every 6 months or so or something like that, provides a show, okay, what's happened since the last one? What's the city done? What's CRD done? What are other community groups done that they talked about at the last session?
Councillor Leishman?
And with that comment, would there be an opportunity to have some specific staff people that would actually know the answers to some of those questions be present at the roundtable?
Through the chair, I think without doubt the city staff on your behalf should be representing the great work that we're already doing on these subjects. So yes, in the case of the sustainability roundtable, where we have the sustainability exposition in the morning, Mr. Knight and Mr. Gallo will be manning the table.
Perfect. All I want to know.
I'm not looking over there, Mr. Knight. Mr. Gallo may not have been free.
It's a Saturday, you got nothing else going on.
But it will be one table among many rather than the only table.
Yes, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Just quickly, I think it'll be, incumbent upon the two council co-chairs, to take this thing for a test drive, feel it out, massage it, and work it so that we bring back to this table some answers to the things that we're trying to move forward. We got it together, no we don't, okay, let's pass that strategic priority and on to the next one.
I think that's sort of alluded to
Right.
in the report.
So, we ain't gonna know until we get out there and try, and you might find it takes 2 or 3 meetings to work it all out and figure it all out. We just gotta give it a shot, but you wanted community input and consultation. I think this is a good try.
Thank you. And I just had a couple of things. Personally, I sort of look at the work that's being done with the refugee efforts as a similar sort of thing. It came together very organically, and out of that, a steering committee arose, and now we have, a general sort of meeting of the whole, but it's still very fluid. People come and people go, and there's still involvement on a level, but it's coming from the community, and people that have knowledge or expertise have sort of been self-chosen and elected to the steering committee. So that's how I see it. I just had a question. I'm excited about this, and now I'm eager for the other 3, and I see that on the action list, it's on the CAO for April, so does that mean the other 3 will come at the next committee of the whole for April?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. But it will come to you in May.
Okay.
But if you approve this at the council, and it does give you time, it doesn't have to be a hurry up, it doesn't have to be a tomorrow night, you can wait 2 weeks, the timeline and such. This report is recommending that before you convene the other 3 tables, you take the lessons learned from this first go-round.
Okay.
So I'll be bringing forward a report, but that report will be suggesting take stock of the first roundtable meeting and then adapt. And also there is I believe, a realistic point that holding the other 3 roundtables initial meeting in the summer is probably setting ourselves up for failure.
Fair enough. Thank you. So to council? Thank you. All right, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Fraser. Community engagement reports, councillors. Anyone want to report on Council Leishman?
Thank you. So this weekend was the Tapping the Groundswell conference on Friday afternoon and all day Saturday. It was a pretty incredible community roundtable session of a lot of members of the community talking about social planning issues. And it was not as well attended as I would have hoped. The weather was too nice on Friday, unfortunately, and people kind of dropped away a bit on Saturday. But there was 116 people registered, and then they had somewhere around 80, I think, probably actually showed up. But some people came and went, so that might have been a fluid 116. But it was a great example of how these kind of community dialogue sessions can actually generate some pretty amazing energy and ideas. And so there will be a report coming out of this conference and all the work that they've been doing, talking to different members in the community. So we might not have to do the social planning roundtable because it's kind of been done in a level, and we can see what their report brings forth in June. But it's there's some pretty incredible ideas coming out of that, really thinking outside the box, and I hope that something can come out of that for us. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone? Oh, Councillor Hathaway?
Sure. Several of us attended, so I don't need to go on and on, but I do agree that it created a great opportunity for input from the public. It was a public created roundtable, and it kind of flies in the face of this suggestion a little bit in that I'm sort of torn whether that kind of roundtable is preferable to one that's organized by council. And not that we're illegitimate, because I think we're very legitimate in what we do, but that one seemed to be perceived in a different way than something created by council. oftentimes people are a bit cynical and they see it as lip service, and this one was not viewed that way at all. So in reviewing this report and thinking, and I'll be interested to see how the reaction is to the sustainability roundtable, to see what happens with it. Will it be as good as this method, or should we be out there in some way encouraging the public to create their own about what they want it to be about? So it kind of is the offset to this, which is interesting.
Yeah,
It was
but,
very good though. I enjoyed it.
so I imagine that's a top.
Yes, Mayor Formosa.
Councillor Hathaway, you've got to remember though, the reason what we're doing is for specific outcomes of our work, which was we had our meetings and we created these lists of things that need to be adopted. And so we're going out to communicate with the public prior to adopting all these different 4 elements of our strategic plan. That's why it's us bringing it out. We can't have the public just start talking about situations, because what we're talking about is specific to our strategic plans. So it's not really, or apples and apples. So what happened there generically, you could say, what we're doing is actually for purpose, to finish something we've started and to adopt the same, although a lot of what we are going to re-adopt, we've already carried forward from our last council with some additions here and there. Thus, why we haven't had to have so much pressure, because a lot of it's just going on, we're doing it. And our strategic plan just added to some and fine-tuned to. So I don't know if I misunderstood you, but what we're doing is not. You guys understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, the difference, I guess the difference is what Councillor Hathaway is probably trying to say about the social planning, tapping the groundswell one specifically. That whole job creation partnership is going to provide a report to council and the regional district for direction of where the community, based on all this,
will save us. It could save us one.
Exactly. That's
right. I got that piece.
Yeah. So it's kind of doing it for us in this particular instance. But
in one area it could save it for us.
Yeah.
But let's not lose fact that why it is we're doing this is specific to those things that we read off there.
Strategic priorities.
The strategic priorities. So.
And we are in community engagement reports. Yes.
Just a reminder.
That was a reminder. Well, my reminder was going to be that you are legislated to have strategic priorities, and you're legislated to report on them and set the measures. So it makes the annual report much more interesting when you put your toe out into the community and hear from them. So. Thank you. Any other community engagement reports, Councillor?
Thank you. Just wanted to mention that the Powell River Wellness project is going to have a big kickoff event, sort of kickoff, although the wellness project has already had over 500 people step up to do the initial challenge. Now that challenge is 3 non-invasive tests. One is flexibility. The second one is balance.
Is one of them memory?
Yeah. The third one is oxygenating. Third one is blood pressure. And really these are just designed to give a tiny motivation to everyone, particularly boomers. And I mean, that we have such a good population in this community, to really focus on health and do some little thing to maybe just improve a tiny little bit. And when we start in that direction, then it often gets us going. It's just that first step that really this is all about. So the kickoff event is on Thursday, April the 21st. It's being promoted all over the place. Unfortunately, that is a council meeting day. So it starts at 4:30 in the afternoon at the Max Cameron Theatre. At 4:30 the doors open, and there's opportunity to take that challenge at 5:30, and that'll be extended all through the evening, or until 7 o'clock. At 5:30 there's yoga with Tina Pashumati James. At 6:30, there is healthy snacks and a social, and between 7 and 9:30, there's a speaker forum with 5 speakers touching on social wellness, spiritual wellness, emotional wellness, physical wellness, and change management. Some really fine speakers. And I'll leave it at that. There will be, there's lots of partners through the community, corporate and social. And there will be posters, and it's going to be really promoted quite well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other community engagement? All right, we'll move on to 5.6, action list. Dated March the 17th, 2016. Any updates, questions?
Through the chair, 3 and 7 have just been complete.
So through the chair.
It's just been started.
So through the chair, you'll notice some of the dates have been highlighted, and these are dates that have advanced. I believe it's another month or two, Mr. Fraser?
Yeah, 1 month in general, one of them is 2.
Just to give staff time to work on it.
Through the chair, I've been given great confidence now that the planning department has 2 planners in it, that they'll be able to clear a bit of background.
Excellent.
Now, if I could put that in context, the reason they haven't gotten to some of these is because there's development and construction and building happening in this community.
Yay!
Which is a real good reason not to get back to you on that odd staff report.
Fair enough. All right, any questions? Councilor Brewer?
Just one, maybe in the interest of getting it down to 3 pages, maybe. Item 38, bring LNG issue back to council after hearing from SFN. Maybe we could change that to TN, but also maybe we could just check with them and see if the response is forthcoming or not, and if not, maybe we could just take it off the list. Yeah, it's dated.
I think they have a few.
Yeah, they got other things.
Yeah, I know.
Through the chair, would this be appropriate to bring up at a C3, a forthcoming C3 once they're organized?
Yeah, there's no rush on that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking instead of having some of these that may never get resolved, do we want to revisit it and just take them off? Or, yeah, C3 is probably appropriate.
Councilor Leishman?
Now, there should be a statute of limitations on previous council stuff that's still on the agenda for this long. Like, I don't even really know what that is.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like it should go away.
Through the chair, last year, before the election, I brought a report forward that addressed exactly that. Stale dated items, where, like, you'll see the last 5 items are actually waiting on others' actions. So that type of thing. Plus, to be fair, some of the ones with staff are dated. So I would take direction from the committee to bring back a report on status, see if there are any that have time expired.
Yeah, maybe that's a better way to do it.
All right. Motion to staff? Yeah. Thank you. Section 6, unfinished business. 6.1 memorandum from the Director of Planning Services regarding council request to clarify status of easement for the loop road for Timberlane. Oh, sorry, Councilor Leishman.
Can I ask the CAO if he thinks I'm in conflict with this, because I'm not really sure?
Through the chair, I don't believe so.
Okay, great.
Well, but I am.
Yes.
Oh.
I am one of the owners of the subdivision.
Status of easement for the loop road for Timberlane Estates next to the proposed Sinobright private school campus. Mr. Knight?
Through the chair, it's maybe I might preface it by saying, it's interesting just how much of the discussion by this committee the last 20 minutes is about looking forward in terms of where we're going, as opposed to this document or this discussion here, which is probably something that originated about 10 years ago. And I'd like to make that point because after spending about 7 or 8 hours looking through a number of files, consultant reports, and the litany of the things that were there, it kind of dawned on me, there's a famous quote by Abraham Lincoln that says that a man who walks backwards makes no progress. And I think that you know, Abraham Lincoln was probably referring to a nation, but it could be very much so to, you know, reference to a city as well, in terms of, you know, how much time we go back to looking and dealing with things that involve people that are no longer here, that involve consultants that are long since retired, and yet we still as staff are required to spend the amount of time going through to find a piece of information that I'll present to you here. But, you know, I think, you know, as a community and as a council and as staff, I think we have a lot of progress to look forward to. And I don't think we're going to get there if we spend so much of our time digging out things in the past. So I'd just like to make that comment. The request that was really being made is something that I believe is still part of an ongoing freedom of information request.
Through the chair,
Yeah.
This came out of a question that was raised at a January committee of the whole meeting by Mr. Orchison during question period.
Oh, okay.
Council does not deal with freedom of information
Oh, okay. Staff
requests. Staff does.
Okay, that's how we got it. And the question is really at the center is, you know, tell us about this loop road and where we're at. And maybe after all that research, the short answer on all this is no. The actual processes that are in place by all the various legislations point to that we did not, as a city, more importantly as a consultant, did not follow the proper protocol in terms of registering what is a de facto road that provides legal access to a subdivision by way of a right-of-way. That's the answer. The memo that I provided, and I probably could have gone ad nauseum to provide a lot of background and even more information that I had found by going through the process, is saying that it is clear that that there were steps that were taken by a number of people that are no longer here. In the attachments that I did to, it makes it very clear where roads are permitted on ALR lands, and there's several examples. You know, access to Forestry Road happens to be one of them. The legislation that I've also provided also says that you can actually register statutory right-of-ways, which in this case was done. But the legislation makes it very clear that a statutory right-of-way is generally for utilities that are underground. So the inference is that you're looking at something that's underground as opposed to something on the surface. And it goes on to the different points that are made through. But one of the additional things that I pulled out is that in this case, it also makes it very clear that even if you didn't get those earlier points, that you cannot register a road that provides access to a subdivision. It tells you in a different section that I provided that one needs to go through an application to the commission. That, through the chair, was not done. And I guess that is probably all I really need to provide at this point, unless you would like me to go on further and probably make some of the assumptions that I provided in the memo based on my review of all those reports and studies. And I turn that over to the chair for clarification.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Mr. Knight on this? Councilor Brewer?
So we were copied on correspondence, I guess, to the ALC about this. There was a complaint to the Agricultural Land Commission. I think that's what it was. So really it's in their hands, I suppose. There's nothing we can do corporately regarding this. My question would be, so the Agricultural Land Commission will look into it. The landowner would be the one responsible, but then there's some what's it called again when a government agency provides advice that's contrary to what is permitted?
Liability.
Yeah, I guess liability. Worst case scenario, theoretically, ALC tells PRSC to dig up the road? Are there any consequences for this?
Yeah, if I may, it's a great question. I think that what the ALC would do in this case is to ask PRSC to make an application as the landowners to go through the proper process. So that, no tearing up of roads, and I don't think that when you look at it, you can pinpoint somebody and say, somebody did something wrong. Because clearly, what was registered was a right-of-way. And that right-of-way was prepared by a registered BC land surveyor, and it goes on and on and on. And you know, when you're the land titles and you receive thousands of right-of-way documents, easement documents, and maybe several hundred subdivisions, you tend to look at certain things a lot deeper than other things. And I think that's probably the situation happened. But there still doesn't take away the requirement that somebody should have notified the ALC, made the applicable application. But if I may, to your question, there's probably 3 solutions other than waiting for the ALC to respond. Is we can do an immediate action, or we can do kind of a midterm action, or we can do a long term. The immediate action would be asking PRSC to make that application. But that would be a redundant, even though it's the correct way, it'd be a redundant, because right now, before council, we have an SOCP amendment and a rezoning to get council's view whether that land should remain in the ALR. And through what Jason presented earlier, he's asked this committee whether we should have a public information meeting to go forward to consider whether we should remove or exclude that land from the ALR. So if we're going through that process, we're essentially answering the question in 3 to 6 months about the status of the land. And if the ALC makes a decision based on council's view or support on the rezoning SOCP, based on the comments it gets back through a resolution on the ALC exclusion application, they may accept the ALR exclusion, and therefore the entire land reverts to a non-ALR land, and then you don't have the same problem. But we still have a third problem here, is that the land, that road is still a right-of-way and not a dedicated public road. So the long-term solution, I've already mentioned the short-term, the medium, the long-term solution would be, as part of the subdivision process that Sinobrate has to do in order to sever that 30 acres of land that it wants to remove from the ALR, and by extension that 105-acre parcel that is negotiated. When they do a subdivision, then the city has the right to ask for certain dedications. One of the dedications we could then ask is, when they do that subdivision plan, is that that loop road becomes a dedicated public road. And if there's a requirement for that road to be updated or upgraded, or, you know, maybe towards better to answer the technicalities of what actually got built. But we have, as a city, the right, once it goes through, and once the ALR is being removed, to basically rectify the situation. So probably within 6 months, we might be in the situation of having a dedicated road in place.
Councilor Burke?
I take your point on the not one. You know, sometimes it's not good to spend too much time looking backwards, but sometimes we need to look backwards in the interest of continuous improvement, right? So one question I've got is with respect to checklists, or do we have something like that for subdivision applications or development permit applications, that maybe there's a line that says, is this ALR land, something like that?
A lot of communities have checklists. What we have basically opposite the Planning Services Department is that foyer or building, or whatever you call it, I don't know, cabinet made in the 1920s, that has a series of things on how to do subdivisions and all that. But I have to say that the process, not our process, but the process of subdividing lands or rezoning lands, doing it, are getting so technical that one almost needs to have a consultant, or you end up having a lot of, what happens right now, you have a lot of staff assisting or mentoring people to go through. And as you saw with Darren Edwards, I mean, he's done so many and he can be training other people. So he's done a number. The toughest thing you can do is your first 2 lot split. And after that, it gets easier. But we don't have the checklist. And unfortunately, even if we created a checklist, you know, within 6 months, there's probably new legislation that asks for 5 other things. And so I wouldn't say we have the most comprehensive list to follow or guideline. There's a lot of resource information if one would want to look it up, but we don't provide that final list of how to go about doing everything you need to do on a particular application.
Well, and it probably, and your point's a good one, I'm surprised it got registered with land titles and didn't get flagged at that point, right? Because on a daily basis, I work with land clearances, and if something pops up, it's any kind of encumbrance pops up and you're made aware of it. And if you remember that C3 meeting we had where I think it was a fellow from Land Titles or one of the outfits, I think we've come a long way even since this in terms of all the spatial data that the different agencies have. So I think, I doubt this would happen now with the level of data integration they've got.
If I may, through the chair, it is a very good point, because when you pull the title on this, the number one thing that's on this list is that this land is affected by the ALC. So, you know, but yeah, I'm just making the assumption that when the right-of-way comes through, there's probably the assumption that everybody has done their homework from the city to the surveying level to deal with that sign off before it actually comes there.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I think the perspective to take Councillor Brewer's point is, there was no attempt to obscure or hide anything. It was the wrong legal vehicle that was used. Use a bit of a pun with the road. It should have been a road rather than an easement or a right-of-way.
And I think if memory, and maybe Scott can, it was a request from, maybe not a request, but it was for extra safety from like emergency vehicles. So they would be able to, I seem to recall something about that, but maybe I'm just dreaming.
Through all the stuff I read, I didn't once see any reference to to that.
I remember at the time, I wasn't on council, but I remember that coming up, and I can't remember why. Councilor Levy.
In our subdivision procedures bylaw 2060-2009 on page 18 in part 6, it has a list of the things that you need to go through, which includes the Agricultural Land Commission if your land is ALR. So there is basically a checklist, but in the form of our whole bylaw. It's written in there.
Councilor Paul?
Through the chair, I think an important point that I need to ask is in terms of going forward. Let's look at the future. We slipped up in the past, but in terms of our present application for rezoning of a parcel of that property, how would what we do affect that going forward?
I'm not clear on the question.
If we were to decide that, we need to put an application in, or we decide, okay, well, let's let this ride and see how the application plays out, how does that play into the public process and all the rest of it? So that's an important question for me.
Through the chair, the answer would be if we had PRC make the application, George Bedard at the Agricultural Land Commission would respond back, you already have an existing ongoing ALR exclusion application for the subject property, so they'll proceed with that one first.
So it doesn't muddy the water if we just
can't see it.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, any other questions, comments? I think we need to do just for information. And on to 7.1, new business, community engagement event, Wellington Beach. Councillor Hathaway, back just in time.
So, as we all know, that CFAIR has effectively been canceled for this year. And as a council, we've often talked about doing some sort of community event, community appreciation, resident appreciation, whatever you want to call it. I think we have an excellent opportunity here. Forever there's been a CFAIR, and to have the parade, which thankful to the committee for going ahead and planning the parade, then there's just a huge...
Should we get the mayor?
Oh, sorry.
Nah.
Right, he was up against the conference.
Sorry.
That's okay,
Thank you
Bill.
for the reminder.
Yeah.
You may own a company that does event planning.
Okay, I'll start again, take it from the top. Seafair has effectively been canceled except for the parade. There will be a parade this year, but no event following. For years, we've talked about doing some sort of resident appreciation kind of day. I think we have an excellent opportunity there. And what I'm visualizing is Wellington Beach, of course, and there would be an event for people to go to after the parade. I can just see the big letdown, you know, the parade and everybody's wound up and then, oh, what do we do now? So I was thinking it would be a great opportunity for us to follow through with that plan that we've had in the past. And I think it would be all that difficult to organize. There will be no midway. Everybody just has to know that there's no midway, but there's no reason we can't have a seafair of sorts, which you invite vendors, they come down and pretty much set themselves up so they could come. We could set up hot dogs, hamburgers or something, whatever we're going to do as a city, we could get together and figure that out. I would look to Morning Rotary. Maybe there's a member here that maybe could do bingo and have bingo set up. That attracts a lot of people.
Peter Harvey's not here today.
And I did talk to Evening Rotary about actually doing the cooking of whatever it was. We plan to do it down there. We could possibly open up the stage where it's just an open mic. People could come and they can sing, they can tell jokes, they can entertain however they like, and at least try and make an afternoon of it. It won't be Seafair, but at least there'll be something for people to go to. Probably not as long, like as a shorter version of Seafair, a few hours in the afternoon. Maybe we could get somebody like Quality Foods to do some fireworks. Who knows, unless we try. So I'm just putting that out there to suggest that the council take on some sort of city event in lieu of no Seafair.
What date?
July, what is it?
23rd.
23rd, I'm thinking.
That's the day of the parade.
Yes.
I think we could pull it off.
So I just put it out there for a suggestion, and I'm just not sure what's involved, so I appreciate your input.
Through the chair, just for clarification, is the circus still in town at that time?
Circus.
What circus?
You know, where, the fair,
Oh, the midway, no, they
No,
won't
no.
come, no matter if we held it or not. Their owner died and they canceled all
Yeah.
their
That's why.
travel this year, and whether they'll ever come back, who knows?
Any other, Councilor Leishman?
So, yeah, it's a great idea. Probably need to strike a committee
Yes.
to look at pulling that off, otherwise it, it falls on staff at the recreation complex, so it would probably need a committee to try and start facilitating that, which is not too soon.
It seems like Seafair has a committee, they're doing a parade. I'm not sure.
I think what the councilor's talking about is a city
I understand.
Citizens Appreciation Day, which would mean we'd form a committee, we would work with our recreation staff and have a little party after the parade. I think it's a great idea. I'll join the committee.
I think Seafair committee has made it clear they're not doing it.
I understand, but they already have the people that have organized the vendors in the past that have all those contacts.
No,
Like
it's
we
just
could,
easy. We could do
yeah, but
We
like
could
the things that you were suggesting
Mhm.
are portions of Seafair that have happened in the past that I think possibly, especially because it's only one day, it might be good to maybe have one or two people from Seafair committee.
Sure.
Part
They
of
wanna
that,
join.
If they're willing.
if they're willing.
I
I
think we should
worry,
try.
I worry that it might look
I
like
think we
this.
should too, that, set up a committee and certainly invite anyone who's interested in participating on,
You
this
can
event.
throw a one-day party like nothing.
Yeah.
I know, I'm just
You
saying.
just need a little budget.
I was just about to say, where does
Where's
the
the money
budget come from? Show me the money.
And
hit the councillor's budget up, that's usually what you do, don't you, Matt?
No, sir.
Mayor's discretionary fund?
There is a consultant in that.
It's almost like one.
Through the chair, I appreciate this. This is a great idea, and you're just brainstorming, but one of the things she talks about is, food is often the attractant to things like this. And there are any number of vendors that would love to be there.
Yeah.
So it can get quite simple.
Yeah, I agree.
So, okay, so I guess the next thing, I don't mind sharing it. We can set up a meeting and whoever is interested. I really want it to be a city motivated event. It's just, because next year we might want the Seafair, we would like the Seafair committee to take it back. I don't want this to become Seafair to become a city commitment.
That's sort of where I feel there might be a little bit of danger that it might appear to be that.
So I just want this year as a fill-in for that void, for it to be a city motivated event. So I'm willing to chair it and call a meeting, and if people want to let me know their interest, well, then I'll move ahead.
Yeah, it'll be a good trial run to see how much work it is to do even just a one-day event, because part of the reason that Seafair didn't carry on, even though the Midway had canceled, is funding, and they feel there is a lack of support from the city. So I think next year, if there is a Midway or some attractant that they feel they can get around, their heads around, they're probably going to want more participation and support and budget from the city to do that, because they've barely been breaking even every year. So not that it's a money-making thing, but without the wristband sales of the Midway, they didn't know how they were going to actually pull that off with what they had to put out. So it'll be an interesting experiment to see what's involved and how much work, because they have volunteer burnout too.
Yeah, absolutely. Councillor Hudley.
So, yeah, to put it mildly, I don't want to get involved in the politics of the Seafair Society and what happened there, what's going on, whether we gave the money, whether we did, that's a whole other issue. I just want to do a city presented resident appreciation day immediately following the Seafair parade.
At tourist allowed though.
No, you have to show ID.
Pay your membership fee.
Regional district? With
So, who would like to sit on that committee with me?
I will.
So it sounds like an all-council kind of committee.
We need a budget. We need a couple of
this
grand.
needs to go to council.
We need a few $1,000.
Yes.
Max nodding.
To council?
Okay, so so it looks like an all-council committee, that all of council form a committee to set up.
The committee of the whole is
Citizen Appreciation Day.
making a recommendation to council, that council set up a committee.
Well, I don't think it needs to be an open meeting like this. I think it could be just form as a committee.
Madam Clerk says this needs to be a decision of council.
Yeah, so it needs to
we're
go to
recommending.
council. I'm just trying to work through what the motion might be at council. A safety
Let's have a safety meeting.
We'll call it the safety committee.
Yeah. If you want to know what that means, you got to run it for council.
Safety preparedness.
So I guess we'll just leave it with Madam Clerk to create a motion, and maybe if we could bring it tomorrow and that we need to get moving forward, or we can move forward.
Chair, I'm hearing talk of a budget. What is the budget? What is? I don't think the committee needs. I've heard mention getting some staff involved. Committee needs to recommend a budget.
Through the chair, I think you're talking about an exploratory committee.
Yes. Okay. Yes. To recommend to council.
Budget.
Couple of $1,000.
That's for the committee to decide.
Yeah,
Or
if
to
you don't
recommend.
spend it all, you give it back. And through the chair, Quality Foods does the Blackberry fireworks.
Yeah.
Maybe we can.
The Blackberry, okay.
Yeah.
So if we did fireworks, we couldn't ask them to do it.
I mean, again, we don't want to do the politics of it, but because Seafair has had their problems and the Midway was a big deal, it was suggested that they look at the Blackberry Festival and do it then with them, join with them. That's a great venue, and then the next day, carry on with Seafair. You got fireworks, but anyway, it's not our problem.
No.
So I just have a procedural concern. If we're going to be just not really a really formulated committee, does that create some issue because it's all of us?
Through the chair, it's actually the contrary. If it's formally acknowledged by council, then it's the business of council.
Okay, so we're okay to.
It's a Citizen Appreciation Day, we're allowed to do that.
Okay,
Your meetings
Councilor
cannot
Burke?
be closed, but I expect you won't get.
But we don't have to announce them. And-
Well, then you're gonna have volunteers help us, people will step up.
Okay. Councilor Burke?
As
Trish is
Councilor Hathaway mentioned, we talked about this 2 years ago. We had talked about budget, doing something decent, barbecue out back or something at Wellington Beach, so it makes sense to do it on the heels of
Like,
Seafair.
right
I
after
think-
the parade, all the cars can go down, form up at the beach, get the band going.
I think really what you need is a motion with some dollars attached, and then the rest will fall in behind it.
So then should we take it to the next council
Make a
meeting?
motion.
And in the meantime, we'll get together and figure out what the cost might be?
2.5.
Through the chair, I think that would be better. This, that's only 2 weeks away, so gives you all
Yeah.
time to think about it, think
Yeah.
it through, and.
So what are we doing?
We're not taking bids. We'll leave it till the next council meeting,
Yes.
and in the meantime, we'll plan a date when we can all get together. We'll talk about what we wanna do, how much it might cost, and then we can have some sort of motion formulated.
Yeah, that would work.
Okay.
I'd like to recommend to Councillor Leishman that perhaps this be added to the agenda at the youth council meeting tomorrow.
Yeah, they might wanna help.
Yeah,
Fine.
good idea.
Another agenda item.
Okay, that's all I had to say on that.
Madam Clerk.
Behind the scenes organization that needs to happen now, so we need to
All
look
right.
at what needs to be done.
We're good with discussion on that. 7.2, proposed late resolution regarding herring recovery plan for Salish Sea for the Association of Vancouver Island Coastal Communities Conference. Councillor Hathaway.
Thank you very much. I was approached, I think all of council might have got an email, on the opening of the herring fishery. And it's just, we're now starting to get the herring back again. And Department of Fisheries and
I
Oceans.
thought we cut down their tree.
Oh, other way. Thank you.
Pardon me?
We cut down their tree.
Huh?
The herring, blue herring.
Oh,
It's Aaron.
Oh, herring.
Herring.
Ah.
Herring.
Ah, herring.
So I've learned a whole lot more than being asked to do this motion at ABICC, a whole lot more than I ever wanted to know about herring. But to just give you the short overview, there's 2 herring fisheries. One herring fishery is the herring themselves. They just go out and fish all the herring. I don't know what they use them for, but that's what they do. And the other one is the roe herring fishery, which I'm getting very confused, and that's where they just collect the females and harvest the eggs. And Sliammon initially put forward a request for us to write to Prime Minister Trudeau asking that they stop this fishery. Kudos to them. My understanding now is that I don't think it's Sliammon. I think native bands around the province own 75% of those licenses, and they're seeing the real issue with the roe herring fishery and wanting it to stop. So that I directed the motion to get had some help from other councillors. We got together and created this motion with a little bit of a backgrounder. I'll just read out the backgrounder so people know what we're talking about here. Herring are a key species in the ecology and economy of the west coast of Canada. Chinook salmon, halibut, humpback whale, seals, sea lions, otters, among others, feed on the herring. Sport fishing, whale watching, wildlife viewing are all dependent on a strong herring population. In the late 1960s, a 4-year moratorium on commercial herring fishing instituted by DFO worked to help herring populations recover after the crash of the mid-1960s. The herring recovered somewhat by the early 70s, then DFO started the roe herring fishery and crashed the population again in the 1980s. As the stewards of this earth, it is our responsibility to ensure the herring population abounds sufficiently. We need a herring recovery plan. We are all dependent on a strong herring population. So that's the backgrounder to go along. I'm asking for council to approve submitting this as a late motion to ABICC. They may or may not put it on the floor for debate. As you know, that they can decide whether either they have time or they have a wish or a desire to submit a late motion. It's late, I think, because the fishery was just announced it was opening, and so that's when it came up. So we have a good reason for it to be late. And the motion reads, whereas Fisheries and Oceans Canada has initiated a 2016 commercial herring fishery and roe herring harvest in the Salish Sea, and whereas a previous moratorium on the commercial fishing of herring in the 1960s resulted in significant recovery of herring populations, now therefore be it resolved that the Association of Vancouver Island and Coastal Communities call upon Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to direct the Department of Fisheries and Oceans to initiate a process to develop a West Coast herring recovery plan with local communities, First Nations, independent scientists, and naturalists. Be it also resolved that a moratorium on all commercial fishing of herring be instituted immediately until populations recover to the level decided upon by the herring recovery plan. I also took this motion to the regional district, and they have approved it going to ABICC, so I would ask that it be a joint motion with the regional district and the city to ABICC. So that's what I'm putting to the committee of the whole to take the council tomorrow night. Thank you. That's my spiel.
Madam Clerk? Yep, so just on that, the deadline for late resolutions is actually noon tomorrow. So I think that the committee could direct that this be sent to the ABICC, and then you would take it tomorrow night for council's
We'll do it after the
endorsement.
fact, ask them to add it in. And
Yeah, it's gotta be, everything's gotta be submitted by noon tomorrow.
okay, so does everybody agree with doing that?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
And now on to 7.3, request for support for a BC Natural Lands Acquisition Fund. Councillor Selka.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A short time ago, I received a letter from a local resident asking if we couldn't have something to do with an initiative that the City of Victoria has carried forward. But really this begins with a larger project which we received correspondence about back, I believe it was on March 18th, from Matt Hulse, who is a member of the environmental law department in Aura, student there, I'm not sure, possibly a grad student. We've heard from him before on a couple of other issues. That department has put together a really comprehensive study backing up this initiative. What the initiative basically is, it's a request to the provincial government to develop a natural lands acquisition fund. And the reason why I wanted to bring it here was because I feel it's quite pertinent both to the city and our regional area. The point that's made in this report is that most of the really sensitive land in, particularly on coastal BC, but I believe in the province as a whole, now exists within private land. So the example here in Powell River is the land held by Island Timberlands. And we're all pretty familiar with the history there. So what this is it's a suggestion. The report basically looks at how many other jurisdictions across North America, mostly in the States, have approached finding ways to buy this land, to put it into conservation, to conserve it basically. These are pieces of land of value, both from a natural and ecological standpoint, and also culturally and recreationally. Very specifically in BC, it's aimed at a very small amount of particularly coastals in our area, Vancouver Island and the south coast, of remaining old growth forest. In other words, valley bottom, tall trees In the inventory done by the provincial government, old growth is up in the double-digit percentages of total inventory. But that also includes scrub areas both in the high alpine and in coastlines, of which there is a lot, and which has no commercial forest value whatsoever. So when you strip out the remaining small bits of big trees, like for example the hillside above Cathedral Grove is used as an example in the report, there really isn't very much left there, and there are active plans of logging in quite a few of those areas. The Walbrand Valley is another one. We may probably have heard of Avatar Grove. These are places that the Ancient Forest Alliance has targeted to protect. So it's not a huge amount, but it is really the only option currently is to purchase this land from the landowner. So what there's two initiatives now that are ongoing. One is a resolution to the AVICC by the District of Highlands, which is one of the small municipal districts down on the north side of Victoria, to support this resolution. And the other one was, I think it's in our correspondence here, in the attachment, a letter by or a proposed resolution by two councillors in the Victoria Council that I believe was passed. So I understand that the City of Victoria will send a letter of support to the provincial government. Just to very briefly outline the fundraising possibilities, they're really extensive, and there's all sorts of imaginative ways that different jurisdictions, particularly as I mentioned in the States, have employed. One of the most interesting ones is that is being suggested possibly to be employed here in British Columbia, is that the bottle and can beverage container industry basically gets a set amount of money from, just to give you an example of one of the fundraising possibilities here, gets a set amount of money from the sales of beverage containers all across the board, and I think it totals to be something around $16 million. That money is expected to be used to process all the returned containers, but apparently in British Columbia there have been a considerable lower number of containers actually returned. So the perception is basically that this industry, or the two representative organizations that are responsible to the industry to look after this operation, are getting essentially a handout. And it is thought that quite possibly, this is the rationale, I believe, of New York State, if I'm not wrong from remembering the details of the report, that that money could very possibly be better spent by the public institutions that end up having to look after bottles and cans lying all over the place. In other words, pollution and litter in the environment, and also ending up in the waste stream, which the public pays for as well. So that's what stimulated that jurisdiction to reorient that kind of money into conservation. And that's basically an example of one of the, I think, 30 or so different funding suggestions in this report. They're all basically sort of that kind of idea. But there's licensing and tax and just a whole lot of kind of bringing money in from creative places. So what I'd like to suggest is that we possibly send a letter, something like the one that Victoria sent to the provincial government, since it is pertinent, this issue is pertinent to our area here, hoping that in sometime down the road that there might actually be some provincial money find its way into our city or regional district to buy some of this precious wildland that we have. It's like, what have we got to lose? Thank you. That's what also, I guess we could give Councillor Hathaway direction to our support in supporting this at the AVICC when it comes up as a resolution. That was the two suggestions I wanted to bring forward today. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Leishman?
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's a great idea to send a similar letter as City of Victoria did. Does Councillor Southcott think that the letter should include any suggestions of examples of mechanisms of funding, or just keep it similar to the recommendation that the City of Victoria put forward?
I'd suggest we just keep it simple, because the report, it's an extensive report. I think it's 32 pages long, and cites examples from all over North America. It's pretty adequate.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yes.
The actual, I'm looking at the District of Highlands actual resolution, so for Councillor Hathaway's benefit, it's resolution 10 at the AVICC, and it talks about in the second whereas 10 to 15 million could be raised annually for conservation by following the examples of several states and recapturing the windfall monies that accrue when consumers fail to redeem container deposits. It actually mentions that. And they're asking that the UBCM request the province to redirect unredeemed container deposits into an annual fund for the acquisition and protection of privately owned natural spaces in BC. So that's what's being presented by Highlands.
Councillor Hathaway?
So I'm just going to make a suggestion that I go to AVICC, hear what happens with the motion, hear the debate on it, if there is any, and then come back and report to council what the wish of the AVICC was. If we don't have their support on this, then we're whistling in the wind.
Councillor Leishman?
So I would suggest we still forward it to the next council meeting, which is April 21st. And then we can talk about it then, and she'll have a report on, and then we would be ready to send a letter if based on the findings, right?
Makes sense to me. All right. Madam Clerk, please make it so. 7.4, plastic-free challenge. Councillor Leishman.
Thank you.
Do it.
So the Let's Talk Trash team is started, it's for Earth Month. It's the plastic-free challenge. So we all have a terrible addiction to plastic products. Councillor Skadsheim helped bring a film to the Cran Hall on Sunday night called From the Waist Up, which is documenting a small group of citizens' battle to try and live without bringing any plastic into their lives for 1 year. And it was funny and challenging and showed just how much plastic products we all bring into our lives. I brought show and tell. This is my last month of plastic that I have accumulated, even though I try to not acquire plastic. Like it's everywhere, so I tried to go shopping. I'm taking the plastic-free challenge because I need to do better than this. This is 1 month. We all think we're doing a really good job, but the problem is only about a quarter of the plastic that we recycle actually is recycled. Most of it ends up in the landfill. It's hugely resource dependent and energy dependent on the oil. Like a lot of oil goes into making the plastic products. And so, but we have to start trying to refuse bringing more plastic into our environment if we can help it. So by taking the challenge, and if you can just be aware, I want to challenge council and even staff to just for the month of April even, try to refuse things or not buy things that are totally cased in plastic, or spinach that's in a plastic box, croissants that are in a plastic box when you can actually get them without a plastic box, and see how you do. And then with the plastic-free challenge, at the end of April, there's another film about how much plastic is ending up in the ocean. And so anybody taking the challenge is asked to wear their plastic that they still ended up with at the end of the month to the film. So it's going to be quite interesting. I saw the Let's Talk Trash Girls today having lunch at Fruits and Roots, and
They said, make sure you say no plastic straw, because now I have to wear a straw at the film. So it's a good, fun way just to raise awareness around how much plastic we actually have in our lives, because every single piece of plastic that has ever been made is never going away. It is all staying on the planet forever. So by refusing plastic, you're just helping the environment and helping in so many ways. So I just want to challenge everyone here and mayor and council and staff to try and take the plastic-free challenge. And I was going to suggest that at our May the 5th council meeting, we could bring the plastic that we actually ended up with at the end of the month and either wear it, as I will do, or just display it for everyone to see and show us how you did if you want to take the plastic-free challenge. So I'm taking it.
I'm taking it.
And I think it's a fun way to just raise awareness.
Not so much in May.
No, this right now. So you get to start late because it's already started. So
And plastic that you already have right now
doesn't count. So
Doesn't
it's
have to.
Recycle came today. My yard.
So start tomorrow. So if you go shopping or you go get takeout or anything, just try to see if you can refuse any plastic or styrofoam items by bringing your own containers. You know, like I went into one of the stores the other day and they had the croissants in the plastic cloud shell because the bin was empty. So I took them out of the plastic cloud shell and put them in a bag and put it back on the counter because I don't need the plastic cloud shell container for 4 croissants, right? So it's just this kind of, we vote with our dollars. So by telling the stores and telling that this is not acceptable, you know, maybe we can change that habit. Because when I go to the produce section, and there's 4 tomatoes in a plastic container or on styrofoam wrapped in plastic, that is complete nonsense to me. So we have to start being, you know, leaders and saying this is no good. Stop with the excess plastic. So I'm really happy to take this challenge. So I ask everyone else to try and take the challenge too.
And I just want to say one thing. It's not recycling, it's downcycling.
Downcycling, I was going to say that too.
I know you were. I could feel it.
Sierra
But
Club.
you didn't, so I just wanted to help you out.
Sierra Club.
And the,
You wear
I have to-
plastic things.
I know. I
You have to wear
recycled
that.
mine from last year.
I'm wearing yours from last year.
I gave mine to Madam Clerk because I'm wearing this one from last year. So it is awareness of everything has plastic. Water bottles, right?
Got a plastic lid.
It has a plastic lid, but at least it's not a throwaway water bottle.
I agree, plastic's horrible.
and
1/4 of all
I
plastic.
hope that we get that report back from staff about the plastic there.
May.
It's in May? Okay.
Plastic bottles, yeah.
Okay, just on that note, through the chair, there is a resolution going to ABICC to urge the province to put legislation in place. I believe it's resolution 28, Councillor Hathaway.
Who's bringing that up? Which city? Courtney?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Sechelle?
Cowichan Valley RD.
Oh.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say that I was out for dinner with the filmmaker. She arrived in town on Sunday and took her to Costa del Sol with the fabulous ladies of Let's Talk Trash. And we all ordered some drinks and they promptly came with straws. So we all got straws for the plastic challenge. You know, we forgot to, but we did speak to the owner of the restaurant and, you know, encouraged her, because she also feels, you know, like straws make me crazy. Straws, plastic bags, all that make me crazy. And she said, okay, you know, she's going to work on it with her staff. Like, what can they do as a challenge for Earth Month in their
You can buy
restaurants?
paper straws.
You can buy
Yeah.
glass and stainless steel ones,
Yes, you
actually.
can.
Yeah.
And
I have a stainless one, yeah.
Yeah, but for a restaurant, I don't know this, anyway, I don't want to get into it. But anyway, that's it, and I'm a plastic addict.
We all are.
My name is Karen, and I'm addicted to plastic.
It's the
But I'm
first step.
trying.
That's the first step.
I'm trying. I'm getting back on the wagon.
Me too.
8.1?
8.1.
Thank
Councilor
you.
Hathaway.
I move that following adjournment of this regular meeting, council move in camera to discuss personal information about an individual, and that the meeting be closed to the public on the grounds of the subject matter to be considered relates to matters covered by the community charter under section 97(1)B. Personal information about an identifiable individual who is being considered for a municipal honor.
Seconder? Councillor Brewer, all in favor? And now we go to questions, and I'll just, gentle reminder, these are questions on this afternoon's agenda from the press. Internet land, Mr. Whitaker.
Oh, your acting worship.
And from Mrs. Coxedge.
One comment, one Larry questions. Another comment about how you can do things. You can take your own containers to the meat department at stores and have them put the meat in your container instead of into their plastic or foil. So I do that quite a bit. Anyway.
And they go,
Thanks
here
for
she
the
comes
tip.
again.
According to Sonic, it was interesting to find out that the school district here is going to be overseeing or managing, or I'm not sure, I can't remember the exact title, the Sign Bright School. Where do the teachers come from that will be teaching at Sign Bright School?
Well, I think that as the process moves forward and, they will go by enrollment, teachers will be, they will be coming from wherever they can get them. They would, it's English immersion, so if they can speak Chinese, but have the accreditation like Mr. Palm has here to teach, the BC Dogwood curriculum. But when I was in China visiting the Sign Bright schools, the teachers that were there teaching, that I knew, did not speak Chinese. They were English, and a lot of them were retired from here. So I think it's just going to be a matter of they'll be putting out, looking for teachers.
So these teachers then are union or non-union? Will they be union?
Maybe school district
That's
47.
I think that's perhaps if I may, a question for the school district. I don't think.
We were talking about school management today, so it's following.
I understand, but I think that if it's going to be managed by the school district, it would.
But that's part of whether, I just would like to know this because it's there are a lot of issues around Sign Bright, as you've heard, and just the whole thing. This is one, too, so I'm just wondering how they fit in to BCTF or the Powell River.
They would have to. There'll be. I was told by the superintendent there'll be employees at the school district 47, and there'll be regular teachers like Mr. Paul.
And I can just say that a friend of mine is actually teaching at Sino-Bright in China right now from Powell River.
So I think
and she thinks it's great.
The confusion here is, and it's confusion for me too.
Yeah.
The initial understanding was that company, for lack of a better term, was coming to Powell River, wanted to bring their students to Powell River to go to school. But my initial understanding was it was a Chinese school and that they were going to learn Canadian ways and hopefully English, but that the whole school curriculum was going to be Chinese. Now that appears to...
No, that's not right.
That's what she understood before.
That's what I understood before.
I'm still wrong, but anyway.
Well, I'm wanting to be corrected. Now what I'm hearing is that no, it's going to... They're going to build the building and bring the students, and the school district is going to take over the whole program. So if the school district, I think in the chair's comment that you should be asking the school district is legitimate, because it's not us, it's like totally separate from us, in that they're building a building, they're going to lease it to the school district is going to staff it. Who they're going to staff it with, we don't have a clue.
I understand that, except that if they were non-union or if they didn't fit in with...
we wouldn't have a clue, I don't know.
And it will affect the community.
If I may, it looks like Mr. Randolph might have some information for germane to the subject.
I think that the confusion here is School District 47 is the operating partner with Sino-Bright in regards to leasing the building, and that's I don't think that's correct. They're the operating partner with Sino-Bright in this project. So as the mayor stated, it's correct that the school district will be hiring staff. It'll be their curriculum and their teachers.
Okay, that's all I wanted to confirm. Thanks.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's it for now.
Yeah, Madam Clerk.
So just for clarity, city's role in this whole exercise is city supporting economic development. But as far as this particular project goes, council's considering the land use issues, which is a public process. Council will comment on the ALR exclusion. The property owner is PRSC Land Developments, and they're working with the school district on this. So anything regarding the actual operation of the school and who's going to be there and who's the faculty and how are they hiring, those questions need to go to either PRSC or the school district. And it's fine to guess, but that can get you into a little bit of trouble, as everybody knows.
So I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you, but I understand that what I was kind of directing at is there going to be concerns in the community, which you are all involved with, if the teachers are coming from, if there's an issue with the teachers.
And as Madam Clerk points out, this is our understanding.
Question.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a great question, absolutely, but just. Thank you. Any other questions? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconder? All in favor? We are adjourned at 5:50 p.m.